Hello again, good evening to you. Time for business. State oil refiner Tor is hoping to refine 25,000 barrels of crude oil a day as it begins operations today. The state oil refiner today started production after almost a year break due to a planned maintenance schedule. Tor is hoping to have to refine products like gasoline, LPG and kerosene at the end of production. Dr. Kingsley Bwesiako is manager public affairs at Tor.
At exactly 9 a.m. today, we started receiving refined products into our storage tank after we had refined the crude that we had. So, like you rightly said, we're coming from a major turnaround maintenance. In fact, we call it a complete overhaul. Currently, the plant as it sits there is as good as new, because we spent so much time and resources in maintaining it. So today, fortunately, we brought it to an end, and then we started the refining process. And then, fortunately, everything is going on smoothly. So we've already started receiving some products. You know that the refining process is a work in progress. We are working on about 942,000 barrels of crude oil. So that translates into about taking 40 days to process into finished product. And by finished product, I mean by the close of work today, we should be getting almost all the products that you get when you refine crude. I'm talking about LPG, gasoline, gas oil, fuel oil, kerosene, and all that. This has been a complete overhaul. It is a very thorough maintenance that is carried out. Like you rightly said, it's taking us between 8 to 10 months. We've spent so much time, energy, resources into it. Our skilled engineers and technicians have done very well. So, but that doesn't also mean that we are going to be complacent and we are going to rest on our oars. Our technicians are standing by. They're keeping a close eye on the plant. Should anything happen, and that is not our prayer, but should anything happen, guaranteed they are going to attend to it swiftly. But we hope that based on the major turnaround maintenance that we've done, all things being equal, this should be able to, run non-stop for a couple of years, actually. But you know that in the refinery business, almost every 2 years we'd have to shut down and do maintenance. And the current management takes the shutdown maintenance very seriously. So definitely when it gets to the right time for us to shut down and do maintenance, we're going to do that.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Ben Boakye, says resumption of Tor's operations would not have any significant impact on the downstream activities and may not affect petroleum pricing. In an interview with Joy Business, Ben Boakye said under current conditions, Tor may not be able to refine to meet the 50 ppm standard requirement for the sector until further investments into retooling the plant is secured. He said additionally, for the company to operate effectively, it needs to move away from government interferences.
I think what Tor would do is also make his own business case, with his product refinement of the products, because the prices are set using international benchmark prices, and once Tor refines, it's also a business. It can also be a player in the market and also make use of that facility that we have invested money in. It's a national asset and it has to work. What I'm afraid is that Tor, in its current state, may not be able to refine to the quality that we have, the standard that we have today on the market, which is 50 ppm of sulfur content, but they can still blend. So this will also require further investment to make it possible for them to refine at that high quality so that they can sell directly to the market without having to blend what they produce. So it is good that they come back to operate, to make that business case why we have put in so much money. But we need to attract investment. And if going forward, that discussion about private sector participation will have to come back again so that we don't leave it in the hands of government and they shut it down when they want and it comes back on when they want. We lose money by doing that kind of on and off switching. So I think we have to have a process of limiting the hands of government in the way the company operates so that they can be more efficient by injecting private sector into the operations of toll.
And in another development, Ben Boakye is cautioning government to monitor critically and ensure that all oil revenue inflows this year are not mismanaged. The country is expected to witness increased petroleum production activities following victory from the ITLOS ruling last year and will rake in more revenues. Sharing his expectations for the petroleum sector this year, Ben Boakye also advocated more capital to be made available to local businesses to enable them to enhance to make more meaningful participation by indigenous companies in the industry.
This year we're going to have 3 fields producing, which will give us a much more reasonable revenue than we have had in the past. The challenge with revenue mismanagement and misapplication will have to be checked in 2018 to ensure that we can efficiently apply the oil revenues to achieve results. We can leverage that for investment attraction in development sectors, and also ensure that the pro-poor sectors also receive attention. We know that a significant portion of the revenue will be going into financing the free SHS policy, which is a good thing. But monitoring projects and how projects are awarded, as far as oil revenue is concerned, we have to have a transparent process that allows citizens to be part and monitor, so that we can move away from the ghost projects that we are seeing. We can move away from uncompleted projects that are not receiving funds to proper planning where what we expect to see in the year can finish projects before we move on to different projects in subsequent years. We have improved the local content provisions that were laid out around 2013 has actually ensured that Ghanaian businesses participate in the sector. But it doesn't end there. We have to ensure that there is enough capital at a cheaper rate that encourages local businesses to compete for contracts in the sector. If we don't do that, then we will have Ghanaians showing their faces to front for foreign businesses, which we do agree that some are even happening today. So there is a lot more work to be done to ensure that these are real Ghanaians and Ghanaians are actually getting the opportunities and building their own capacity to ensure that into the future we can have local companies participating actively and winning the bigger contracts.
Now, the recent tax cuts by government would start yielding results from this year in terms of revenue pickup. That's according to the latest Economic Intelligence Unit report released today. There's more in the following Business Desk report.
According to the Economic Intelligence Unit, the pickup in revenue would be boosted by widening economic efforts to boost revenue compliance. The unit was, however, warned that even though oil prices are expected to pick up this year, the projected revenue from the sector would not be good. The unit was also cautioned that government may have challenges in spending the projected 6 billion cedis on capital expenditure this year due to some spending pressures, while indicating the projected fiscal deficit of about 3% for next year would also be difficult to achieve. On the Ghana cedi, the UK-based intelligence also indicated that the cedi would still remain under pressure this year, hitting 4 cedi 65 pesos, but these pressures would persist running into 2022.
And that's all in business for tonight. Many thanks for your company. My name is Emmanuel Akwaji. You have with us more news ahead. Good evening.